Hi everybody, it's me, Willow, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am home after the Toronto International Film Festival. It was such an incredible 10 days in Toronto with just a bunch of cine lovers, and I had such an amazing time with my 5th year at the festival, and I really dived head in with this year and got to see so many incredible films. And one of those incredible films is The Testament of Anne Lee from director Mona Fastvold. I am so excited to discuss this film today. It was one of my most hotly anticipated films of the festival just because it's been getting such interesting reviews out of Venice. And of course, Mona is one of the half of the collaborators who did The Brutalist. She has worked with Brady Corbet for a really long time as creative collaborators, and they're also romantically involved. So it's always nice to have your partner work on your films with you. So after The Brutalist last year and its crazy success, we have Mona's entry with The Testament of Anne Lee. Both of these films were shot on 70 millimeter for a budget of only $10 million, and both were done independently. So, what do I think of The Testament of Anne Lee? I think this film is fantastic. It's my number one film of the festival that I got to see. It is over Hamnet. It's over Frankenstein. It was just an accident. This was my favorite film of the festival. And I knew a bit about it before going into it. I knew it was Amanda Seyfried, and it was about this woman who was a part of the Shakers, movement, religion, and that was kind of it. That's all I really knew. I knew it was also a musical. There was a lot of choreography, so I was prepared for that. And as a musical lover, musical theater kid, I was, sign me up. I'm ready to see this. But I wasn't a biggest fan of The Brutalist. It just didn't really work for me. I think the first half is much stronger than the second half, which I think a lot of people have a similar thought on. It was just, it was not for me. I couldn't. But this one, man, this one was incredible. And I do think they have very similar, talking points and narrative pieces, but obviously they are very different. The Testament of Anne Lee follows Anne Lee, played by Amanda Seyfried. I believe it's the 18th century. I think that's what they said it was. And we start in Manchester, I believe it is. And we have Anne Lee. She's growing up as a child. She's always been very dedicated to her faith and to God. She has a brother, William, who's played by Lewis Pullman, who also does a fantastic job in this film. We also get Thomasin McKenzie, who plays another Shaker. I think she's also fantastic. She's also the narrator of the film. So we have this overcoursing narrative throughout the entire film, and it's coming from Thomasin McKenzie. So I think she's very poignant in the film and how she has her relationship with Anne Lee and the rest of the Shakers. I think this film is visually stunning. I think that's the biggest thing that I take away from this film is just how gorgeous this is, the production design, but specifically the cinematography just really captures this film in a light that a lot of films don't get to be seen in. Again, it's also shot on 70 millimeter film, so there's obviously a deep craftsmanship and a deep love for cinema and film there. If you're trying to shoot on 70 millimeter, obviously you care about what your film's going to look like, and you care about that authentic feel that film can often give creatives. And I really do think that this makes the film stand out just with the grain and the certain scenes. I'm a big lover of film, and I saw Frankenstein that morning, and then I saw Anne Lee in the evening. And one of my big criticisms of Frankenstein was I just thought it looked too crisp, too clear, too Netflixy, and I think that has to do with the digital and having like a humongous budget. And sometimes that is a really big privilege and a benefit. But I think when you see a film like this that is shot independently on $10 million budget with 70 millimeter film, and it looks how it does, like, do you really need Netflix and digital? Like, I don't know. That's a conversation for another time, but I think this film just looks so gorgeous. One of my criticisms about the look of the film would be that it is kind of visually dark in certain scenes. I think they use predominantly natural light, so we're in some scenes like inside a house, it can be quite shadowy, and if like there's no like windows or something to let in some natural light. There's also a couple scenes set at nighttime, and that can be like a little difficult to see too. And one of my friends mentioned it in like my group chat. They're like, "Did you guys think Ann Lee was visually dark?" And I was like, "Yes, that was one of my complaints." But that's just like a small little thing. I always look for that in film. I often find a lot of film are not lit properly, and I think this kind of also works just with like the time period. Like there wasn't electricity, you had to rely on natural light. So I think it kind of does work with the narrative a little bit too. So not like a big gripe in my opinion, but some people will probably be annoyed that it is quite dark and you can't see things sometimes. So I just wanted to put that out there. I do think the production design of the specific houses that we have in Manchester are gorgeous. These big properties, these big estates where all of the Shakers come to worship together. They're also very specific with having the Shaker production design of like the chairs being on the walls to make more space for their worships. And then they can take the chairs off the wall where they're hanging and they can make them into a seating area. So I think the small stuff like that also really helps to push you forward into the narrative and understand what type of world you're in. I think when the group immigrates over to the US to kind of create a colony and settle and, bring their religion and their worship over to a new group of people. I think seeing kind of like the bed and breakfast that they stay in is also very interesting. Seeing the different streets and like the markets that they navigate through is also very intriguing and brings you into that world, that timeline. I also love like the land that they find that's in the forest, and they also discuss how are the people going to find us when we're in the forest. And obviously it's God's word that's brought us to this land, and it will be God's people who bring themselves to us and be able to teach them to devote themselves to God. So production design, very interesting. We also have a couple of scenes that involve fire, and I think those scenes are lit very well, shot very well. I think the fire is very I think this film is a very fiery film. Like it really does build up this, I don't know, like this, I don't know if anger is the right word, but all this like trauma and horrible stuff that's happened to Ann Lee over her life, it really does build up to like the end when we have this big fiery scene. So I think the fire is also kind of a symbolic gesture towards Ann Lee and all the pain that she's had to go through. So very on point. I think, again, the performances are so well done. I think this is some of Amanda Seyfried's best work, and I've been following her for like 15 years. I've seen a lot of her work. Big fan of her musical work as well, when she's done Mamma Mia and Les Miserables, and now she's doing The Testament of Ann Lee. I think her singing voice is just so beautiful, and she really does bring this emotion towards like the pain and all of this child loss that she's endured over the years, this like settling to try and make her husband happy, but then not believing what her husband wants is what God is telling her to do. So a lot of internal struggle, and Amanda delivers that on screen with no hesitation. She just goes full force into this very dynamic and complicated woman, and I can really tell that she really had a deep connection to Anne and wanted to do this woman justice. And I think she 100% does. If she doesn't get any like accolades for this performance, I will be so upset. I am kind of worried because it seems that The Testament of Anne Lee still does not have distribution. It's kind of rumored that maybe Netflix has picked it up. Somebody said something about that at TIFF, but nothing has been confirmed as of September 16th. So I am kind of worried because I do have The Testament of Anne Lee on some of my like awards predictions in my fantasy leagues that I'm in. So I'm riding on this film. And just as a personal love of the film and the performances in it and the direction, all the craftsmanship. If this film does not get acknowledged in the 2025-2026 season, I think I'm just going to be so upset. I do not want it to get pushed to next year like The Life of Chuck. I feel like this one will not be able to hold its narrative, and with I think it's The Housemaid that's coming out as well. It's like a Colleen Hoover adaptation with Sydney Sweeney and Amanda Seyfried. It's coming out later this year, so I feel like that movie could like overtake The Testament of Anne Lee just because Amanda's in it as one of the leads. Like, I'm really worried about this movie, but it's so good that I just hope somebody picks it up. I don't want it to be Netflix just because it's 70 millimeter. Like, I don't want it to go straight to streaming. I wish A24 would pick it up like they did with The Brutalist. I think this really does fit in with A24's lineup with what they've been doing for the past like 10 years. I think it's kind of, I don't know, it has like a lot of similar elements to their past filmography. So I think this would be really well received by A24 fans. I think if it got some sort of like limited release in theaters, maybe in like November, December, and then more of a push at the beginning of the year, it could be similar to The Zone of Interest and kind of get a last minute surge from a lot of viewers and voters. I think this film is just so well deserved. I really do think Amanda Seyfried should be getting a Best Actress nomination. I also would nominate Thomasin McKenzie as supporting actress because with her narration, she really does bring a lot to her plate. And her character is very supportive of Anne Lee and her journey to bringing the Shaker religion to, you know, as many people as possible. And Thomasin McKenzie's character is always by her side and supporting her, even through her trials and tribulations with the law, with non-Shaker communities, even with her own husband. So I think if Thomasin McKenzie doesn't get some sort of nomination, I will be upset. She's been working very hard the last couple years, and I really do think she should get acknowledged. I would also give this like director nomination because I really do think Mona Fastvold is perfect with this film. Just the direction that she's able to give and the certain scenes with like the choreography and the cinematography. Like, do you know how hard it would be to shoot some of those scenes, making sure all the actors are in time together with their choreography, with their singing, with the passion for the worship, with the right movements with the camera. Like, that only comes together if you have a fantastic director leading the helm. And I think Mona is definitely an exhibit of that. I think she really did bring her passion for wanting to shine a light on this historical woman, in a place of power during such a patriarchal time. And she often faced a lot of hardships from that patriarchy, specifically from her husband and also the men in charge of the law. Was she always treated fairly? I don't think so, but it shows that she really was so deeply rooted into her religion and believing that she was like Christ's wife and, kind of the reincarnation of God, and understanding that he reincarnates as both a woman and a male. Like, there's both the two genders. Like, I think that theology is also very intriguing to the concept in such a non-progressive time, such a patriarchal time, to see this female leader push these ideals and like reject against slavery, and having a lot of like men follow her and listen to her advice and be, non-violent, not fight back. Um, Very, very intriguing to see like our time now, hundreds of years later, and we are still stuck in this patriarchal regime, and the people in power. It's very interesting. So I think this film does shine a lot of light on female leaders, also specifically mothers, and the trauma that women have to endure from childbirth and then also losing children. I think the aspect of being celibate is also very intriguing in this film. When Anne Lee, we see at the beginning of the film, she does go through some certain sexual trauma with her husband. It's very apparent that she's not receptive to a lot of certain like advancements that he wants to do, or like positions, and he wants to spice things up in the bedroom when she's very believing in kind of just like consummation and just doing your familial duties and not having sexual relations for pleasure, and having this kind of forced upon her and then losing like 4 children. I think the idea of celibacy is very, very complex, and I think some people, I don't know if they like uncovered this layer, but the sexual trauma that she has endured, and then losing the children, and she decides, well, we have to be strict to God and not have any sex. I was like, ooh, I wonder why, this, manifestation came out of her, and why she believed God was telling her this. And maybe God was telling her it, but I think it was more of her internal struggles and her trying to protect herself from all of these previous traumas that's happened to her. So, very, very interesting story. I think the music, sometimes it can get a little repetitive, but I know Daniel Blumberg, he also like adapted this from like the Shakers, like music books, from like their notes and hymns that they've had in the past. So I know he did like go from like the true source. And I know a lot of like worship songs can be very repetitive to kind of get the point across. So would be like another criticism, just it's not like a natural flowing musical. I did kind of have that, awareness before going in. It's much more of like a folky hymn film. It's a worship film. We do get like traditional choreography, but it's like worship. So there's definitely moments where you get so into this and you start to like breathe with them in unison, and you want to like praise up to the Lord with them, and you feel that passion coming off the screen. So I really do think this film is super effective. I know it's not going to work for everybody because it is very different, but I had a fun time with it. I really did enjoy it. Again, my number one film from the festival. So I really hope it does get picked up with distribution really soon, because I will be devastated if we don't see it at the 2025-26 award season. So let me know what you guys think of The Testament of Anne Lee in the comments down below. Like I said, I really did enjoy this film, from the performances, the production design, cinematography, music, choreography, the direction. So much about this film was just top tier. I do think there was a couple things maybe they could have improved on, like the darkness, and some of the storylines I think maybe do fall short a little bit. It is a big summarizing of Anne Lee's life, so that could be another, criticism for some people. But I do think this film really does stand out from a lot of the stories that have been coming out lately, and just to see this independent film, be so like beautiful, and the craftsmanship, the dedication. I really do love passionate cinema like this. So, again, let me know what you guys think about the film down below. What you guys are thinking about the film. Do you guys think it's going to go on Netflix? Do you think somebody else is going to pick it up next year? Let me know. Let's have a conversation in the comments. If you enjoy the review, give me a thumbs up and hit the notification button and subscribe button if you want more videos from me. I post here every single week. I'm trying to be more active and consistent here on YouTube. But if you like pop culture and entertainment content, give me a follow over on TikTok because I post there every single day. I also am on Awards Expert, so if you're interested in what I'm predicting throughout the awards season, give me a follow over on Awards Expert because I'm sporadically updating that throughout the awards season. So yes, thank you guys so much for all your engagement. It really does help me push out into the algorithm. It helped me come across more like-minded people like you guys. So I'm hoping to see you in my next video. I have lots more film reviews coming out of TIFF in the next couple weeks. I'll also have like a roundup video for my top films that I saw at the festival as well. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and notification button so you don't miss out on anything. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!